pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Right, national anthem is unavailable. Roll call and verification of quorum. LGR Chair Urea.
Mole. Podier. Kira.
Here.
Gomez. Martinez. McClellan.
Present.
Millington.
Present.
Richard.
Present.
Temple.
Present.
Caldwell.
Present.
Robbins.
Present.
Balding. Castillo.
Here.
Wynn.
Here.
Simcoe. Sorry, I lost my place. Wanjin.
Present.
Domino.
Present.
Foster. Galloway. Custis. Beaumont.
Here.
Sarah.
Present.
Gell.
Present.
DeMarla.
Here.
Patel.
Here.
Yamanchili.
Present.
Harrell.
Present.
Borges.
Here.
Roll. Almanar.
Present.
Anderson.
Present.
Castellan.
Present.
Sabula.
Present.
Paul.
Here.
Holmes. Huerta. Costas.
Here.
Martin.
Present.
Salerno.
Present.
Sacedo.
Present.
Tache.
Here.
Cerisi. Cox. 32 out of 44, 31 out of 44 quorum is verified.
Great. Thank you, Chair Urea. Approval of the minutes. Take a look at last meeting's minutes, and I'll take a motion. Vice Chair McClellan.
Motion to approve last meeting minutes.
There's been a motion to approve last meeting's minutes. Are there any objections? Seeing none, I'll take that as general consent. The minutes stand approved. Approval of the agenda. Take a look at tonight's agenda, and I'll take a motion. Chair Temple.
Move to approve this meeting's agenda.
There's been a motion to approve the agenda. Are there any objections? Seeing none, I will take that as general consent. The agenda stands approved. Open forum. Any non-senators wishing to speak during open forum? Seeing none, announcements from the student body president, President Lopez.
Sorry, that was loud. Hi, everyone. I hope you've all had a great week. If you're taking summer A classes, I hope finals have been treating you well. So with that, orientations, Zelly and I have been speaking at the past orientations, and they seem to be really successful. There's been a number of students that have either come to the office and wanted to learn more about student government, or they've actually been applying for EC and for Senate. And then when we ask them, how'd you find out about student government? They tell us orientation. So that's been really, really successful, makes us really happy. We're now going to start tabling at orientation. So that's going to be hopefully even more of a push, more outreach. And I think GAP is going to also be doing voter registration. So that's going to be amazing. And then I have election commission appointments. So I hereby appoint the following individuals: Madison Smith to seat 1, Michael Soto to seat 2, Tamani Harris to seat 3, Anisha Tagula to seat 4. And then since we extended the election commission application, there were a couple individuals that weren't able to be interviewed within this timeframe due to their personal conflicts. So they'll be interviewed next week and appointed hopefully come next week. But that's the end of my report.
Any questions for the student body president? Dilek Wanjan?
Sorry, if we had a supervisor of elections, I'd be directing this to them, but do you know if there are any election commissioners who are staying, like didn't leave after
Yeah.
last year?
So I know there's one returner and then there's a second person who's been on the commission. I'm not entirely sure if they were on it last year. I know they for sure were on it 2 years ago, but we have 2 people that have been on the commission prior.
Any other questions for President Lopez? Chair Salerno?
Who will be tabling on behalf of student government at these orientations? And how can we get involved in this?
Yeah, I know Chair Hall has to email Zelly later on in his report, but just email Vice President Martinez. Our Deputy Chief of Staff is going to be tabling as far as outreach. There's going to be a couple cabinet members as far as voter registration, anyone from GAP who wants to participate, or if you realistically just want to show face, want to be out there, we will take as many student government agents as possible. These students are really, really eager and they're excited to meet people and they seem really excited.
Any other questions for the student body president? Seeing none, thank you, President Lopez.
Thank you.
All right, announcements from the student body vice president, none. Comptroller's report.
Hey everyone, meeting with our accountant, Dr. Posey, and the assistant vice president of SDES about workday in the coming week. Additionally, the CRT current account balance is $290,261.71 with a reversion rate of 9.227. FAO current account balance is $101,577.67 with a reversion rate of 14.786%.
Any questions for the comptroller? Chair Borheads?
Yeah. Are you going to be allowing fiscal leadership to attend either of those meetings next week or tomorrow?
It's a one-on-one with Dr. Posey scheduled for tomorrow. So I'll reach out to see if you have any questions I'll direct towards her. And for the one with the assistant vice president of SDES, I'm open to it. I'll just make sure I coordinate with him and tell him it's going to be open to fiscal leadership as well. Same with our accountant.
Any other questions for the comptroller? Seeing none, thank you, Stephen. All right, Cabinet Forum, Attorney General Moore.
Hi, Senate. This week I wrote 2 opinions. There is now only one outstanding opinion request, and I will begin working on that opinion starting tomorrow. So the opinion that is published on the website and all that I have linked in the minutes. And this one has been posted in the office and, like I mentioned, already on the website as well. Essentially, this opinion states that participating in an internship for non-academic purposes does not fall within the realm of proper reasons to be granted a blanket excuse under Senate Rule 7.09. If you have any questions about that or anything else, please feel free to reach out to me or just come speak to me whenever I'm in the office. And that's it for me. Thank you, guys.
Senator Potier?
Yeah, present and voting.
So noted at 6:14 p.m. Any questions for the Attorney General? Seeing none, thank you, Caitlin. Director of Communications, assuming there's no report, none. Announcements from the Interim Chief Justice. Interim Chief Justice Kirk.
All right. Hello, everyone. So our judicial orientation is tomorrow morning at 10 in the conference room. If you're around, just feel free to stop by and say hi. The council seeing 8 bargaining appeals this week and 7 next week to get caught up. The returning justices have been working super hard. So if you see them, please give them a pat on the back. And then I guess just another little thing to highlight. We always want to highlight new things happening in the branches. So we've seen an increase in graduate student interest in advising. There's been quite a few graduate students coming to us for grade appeals and such since the end of the spring semester. So it's been fun to kind of handle that and set that precedent for the future. So that's it.
Any questions for the interim Chief Justice? Seeing none, thank you, Sage. Announcements from the Supervisor of Elections, none. Announcements from the Activity and Service Fee Committee Chair, none. Announcements from the Scholarship Committee Chair, none. Announcements from the Senate President. Good evening, y'all. Steve Gomez has been dismissed from the student body Senate for accumulating more than 2 unexcused absences. Zykeria Roll has resigned from the student body Senate. This week in LJR, there were 2 absence requests that were denied, and it was requested that those decisions were seen during Senate exec. So we saw that at 5 o'clock today. For Vice Chair Tache's absence request on July 28th, Senate exec decided to overturn LJR's decision by a vote count of 7 to 3 to 2. And for his absence request on July 21st, Senate exec also voted to overturn LJR's decision by a vote count of 6 to 4 to 2. It was asked in the Senate-wide chat when the last day of Senate would be for the summer. So Senate isn't supposed to meet during finals week. However, on the academic calendar for the summer semester, there is no designated finals week. However, I don't want everyone to have to worry about going to Senate during finals week. As such, I'm choosing for the last Senate meeting to be on July 28th for the summer semester. Additionally, as a member of the Chiefs Advisory Council for the UCFPD Chief of Police, I was extended an invitation to sit in on one of their annual block training sessions. So on Monday, I will sit in on a segment about the use of force. I just wanted to let all of you know that now, and then on Thursday next week, I'll give you an update on how that went. Any questions for me? Seeing none. Also, this means that y'all don't have me for 7 weeks. You'll have me for 6 weeks as your speaker instead. All right, internal legislative assistant report, none. ELA report, Chair Borges.
Yeah, Eli Galloway told me to do it for her. I guess I'm doing it. So good evening. On this date in MLB in 1984, over at Wrigley Field, Cubbies Ryan Sandberg drives in 7 runners to help Chicago to a 12-11 victory after 11 frames. She is aiming to have all of the optional dean meetings for the summer semester scheduled by the end of next week. So please stay up to date in your college group chats. The information for event promotion and graphic requests from the communications department can be found on the main page of our student government Senate Google Drive. She did link it. So you could press on it and scroll down. It's near the bottom. Please follow the allotted time frames for each of these requests, preferably 1 week for social media posts and 2 weeks for event graphics. Also, committee and caucus chairs, please send her your committee and caucus website updates by the end of the week. She's referring to the student government website and how it gives information on each committee and caucus. So please look over that, make sure everything's correct when it comes to forms and everything. I know CRTs is very outdated, so I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of things were outdated on the website. So please send those to her.
Any questions for Chair Borges or myself regarding the ELA report? Seeing none, thank you, Chair Borges. Senate President Pro Tempore report, none. Deputy Pro Tempore of Legislative Affairs report, Dila Guanjin.
Good evening, everyone. I'm sorry for the long announcements as I normally am in committee. As most of you have heard in committee over the past couple of days, Pro Tem Cerisi will be gone through June 29th and will return next Thursday, June 30th. If you have any questions, please refer them to myself or Deezer Foster. She's not available until she returns. Even in her absence, all legislation submissions and extension requests must be sent to Pro Tem Cerisi, but if you want anyone to see it before next Thursday, you'll need to send it to me as well. As far as extension requests are concerned, I will not be granting extensions next week to legislation I've not already seen through advising or otherwise, since I will be swamped until Pro Tem Cerisi's return. On the topic of legislation, probably should have mentioned this last week, but July is quickly approaching. So if you have any legislation specifically recognizing something in July, please get that submitted to me ASAP so that we don't have to see it halfway through the month. This next week is going to be very busy for me. I'll be in the office from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. daily at minimum in order to assure I'm available to anyone who needs me, but I won't be checking my email outside of business hours. If you need to schedule a meeting with me, please use my Calendly link if possible, which is linked below. If I'm in the office, you're also welcome to simply walk in if you have something you want to discuss, but you will be running the risk that I won't be available for very long. I wrote one fiscal bill this week, Fiscal Bill 5403, which will be seen on first reading tonight and in CRT on Wednesday. Then please fill out the involvement tracker so we can recognize you all for going above and beyond on campus and in the community. And then of course, my anonymous DLive feedback form. Thank you.
I don't know how it sounded like you did that all in one breath, but any questions for Dila Guanjin? Seeing none, thank you, Dila Guanjin. Deputy Pro Tempore of Senate Relations Report, none, but he just walked in the room. Hello, Nick. Caucus reports, Asian/Pacific Islander American Caucus, none. Black Caucus report, none. Disability Caucus report, Vice Chair Taché.
Yeah, so we have a bunch of projects in the work that are going really well, but the one that's pretty close to complete is our wheelchair charging station program. We actually got the university to order 2 of these. So there's going to be one that's going to be placed somewhere in the student union probably, and then there's going to be one that's going to be put in the SAS offices. We're really excited about this. This is really going to help wheelchair users on campus. We also met with someone from the UCF PD to work on some of that. We're meeting with Court to talk about RSO training. So we're getting a lot of great work done. So I'm really excited about that.
Any questions for Vice Chair Taché? Chair Salcedo?
Can you loop me in on those RSO training communications, please?
You got it.
Sir Foster?
Present and voting.
So noted at 6:22 p.m. Any other questions for Vice Chair Taché? Seeing none, thank you, Jason. Hispanic/Latinx Caucus report, Chair Salcedo.
Hi, everyone. Yesterday, I met with Chair Millington, Vice Chair Anderson to host our very first FAO funding workshop with the Latin RSO leaders. I really hope this is the first of many. It was very successful, and we just went in depth on the process of how to go about requesting funding for events. So special thanks to them for helping me out.
Any questions for Chair Salcedo? Seeing none, thank you, Mel. LGBTQ+ Caucus report, Chair Yalamanchili.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So LGBTQ+ Caucus met last week. We did not meet this week. We meet next Thursday at 4. The caucus is also helping out at a Pride Night event hosted in Tower 2 by the RA over there from 3:30 to 6:30 to essentially spread awareness of LGBTQ+ resources available to students on campus, and also generally to represent Senate and as the caucus in this event that also aims to celebrate Pride. Emails to RSOs have been sent out in order to fill our 2 temporary ex officio seats. I would also like to highlight that today is the birthday of Alan Turing, who was a British and gay computer scientist, mathematician, and World War II codebreaker. He was born in 1912, so today would be his 110th birthday, and he was very important to the world in that he broke the German Enigma machines in World War II, which allowed the Allies an intelligence advantage and helped win the war. And so he contributed very greatly towards world history and is a great example of someone in the LGBTQ+ community who made a difference in the world. Thank you.
Any questions for Chair Yalamanchili? Seeing none, thank you, Vihan. Women's Caucus report, Chair Sabila.
We did not meet this week, but I just wanted to say happy Women in Engineering Day. So that is all. Thank you.
Any questions for Chair Sabila? Seeing none, thank you, Larkin. Unfinished business, none. Fiscal Committee caucus time, none. Fiscal Committee reports, CRT Committee, Chair Borjas.
Thank you. In committee for new business allocations, we denied application 54060. So, hey guys, in committee, we saw that one allocation, and we also determined our fiscal quarters for the 2022-2023 fiscal year. The quarters are as follows. Quarter 1, which is July, August, and September, is $110,000. Quarter 2, which is October, November, and December, is $200,000. Quarter 3, which is January, February, and March, is $200,000. And Quarter 4, which is April, May, and June, is $110,000. These quarters are subject to change, but work is a good guideline for my committee's expenditures. I want to thank my vice chair for doing a great job taking minutes. We talked a lot about our fiscal quarters, and my committee had great discussions. So I really appreciate you all. And I yield to my vice chair.
Good evening, senators. This week we had orange flavored Jaffa cakes from Ireland. It was basically jelly on top of a biscuit and covered with a thin layer of chocolate. Senator Hurrell said they were surprisingly good, while Chair Boris said he kind of liked it. Senator Poirier did not like it. Dila Guanjin said they tasted like calcium and vitamin D chews. Senator Becerra said it was good. It wasn't good, but it wasn't bad. It's the literal definition of mid. I was utterly disgusted upon eating these. The chocolate wasn't good. The jelly was not real food. After doing a dissection, the jelly looked like a piece of cartilage between two vertebral discs. That thing was definitely not FDA approved. Furthermore, the piece of bread under it was stale and tasteless. I don't know if you guys are able to tell, but I did not like them.
Seem like it's becoming a recurring thing that AJ just doesn't like many things. Any questions for CRT leadership? Seeing none, thank you both. FAO committee report, Chair Millington.
Hello, everybody. Happy Thursday again. So FAO did not meet this week because we didn't have any request submissions, but huge shout out to Chair Salcedo. As she mentioned, we had our first FAO funding workshop for the Latin RSOs, and that went great. So huge thank you for that. And then also just for caucus leadership, it's likely I'll be reaching out to you guys sometime in the future about making some more funding workshops. So keep an eye out for that.
Any questions for Chair Millington? Seeing none, thank you, Leslie. ORS committee report, Chair Temple.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Hello there, Senate. Before I begin, I wanted to extend a really quick shout out to Delag Wanjan for chairing the meeting on very, very short notice, as I was pulled away from the meeting rather unexpectedly, both for myself and the entire committee. That being said, we saw 9 post-funding reviews and 6 verification of purchases forms. Unfortunately, we had to postpone all 9 post-funding reviews and 3 of the 6 verification of purchases forms, but we did approve the other 3. You can see the allocations and the Senate bills that were approved or postponed. And with this, I hereby yield to my vice chair.
Hello, Senate. Thank you, Chair Temple. So this week's snapshots included the comptroller's dog, our graduate assistant's many talents, including TikToks and working out, and a 10 out of 10 performance from a local Florida lizard clinging onto my car for dear life as I drove at an unmentionable speed down the road. Thank you. That's all.
Any questions for CRT or ORS leadership? My apologies. Seeing none, thank you both. All right, fiscal legislation, notice of legislation on first reading, bills, Fiscal Bill 5403, funding for 6 members of the Art History Club to travel to SECAC 2022 in Baltimore, Maryland from October 26, 2022 to October 29, 2022, which will be introduced by Senator Potier. Is hereby remanded to CRT. Resolutions, none. Special acts, none. Notice of legislation on third reading. Bills, Fiscal Bill 5402, funding for 36 members of the Association of Latino Professionals for America to travel to the Alpha 2022 National Convention in Orlando, Florida from August 7, 2022 to August 10, 2022, introduced by Chair Salcedo. Is there a motion for 5-minute speeches, 15-minute questioning, 15-minute debate? Any objections? Seeing none, I'll take that as general consent. Chair Salcedo, 5 minutes when you're ready.
Hi, so to my knowledge, they have not reached out to me with any changes to their itinerary or their funding requests. So with that being said, all the information is the same from the last Senate meeting.
All right, we are now in line for questioning. Anyone with a question? Sarah?
Move to debate.
There's been a motion to go to debate. Are there any objections? Seeing none, we're now in debate. Wanjan.
So I know there was some concern last week about the fact that the lodging is within 50 miles. I will say the provost signed off on that, so I'm not really sure we should have an issue with that.
Any other debate? Chair Temple.
So yeah, I just wanted to say that I will be voting in favor of this piece of legislation, of this fiscal bill, because the matter of the 50-mile radius was not covered up, I can't remember the term, but it was actually, it was figured out by the provost, as Delag Wanjan said, so that should cover up any further issues. Plus, I really love to see diversity within the business world coming from the College of Business themselves. So I would encourage my fellow senators to vote in favor of this piece of legislation.
Any other debate? If not, I'll take a motion. Foster?
Move the vote.
There's been a motion to vote on Fiscal Bill 5402. Are there any objections? Seeing none, we're now on voting procedures. With a vote count of 27 to 1-0, Fiscal Bill 5402 passes favorably on third reading. Resolutions, none. Special acts, none. Notice of legislation on second reading, none. Internal committee caucus time, none. Internal committee reports, E&A committee, Vice Chair Almanar. What? Wait, Chair Gell's here. Chair Gell.
I will be yielding to my Vice Chair Almanar.
Figured, I just wanted to make sure. Vice Chair Almanar.
Good evening, Senate. In this past week's E&A meeting, we finished seeing the judicial branch appointments. We also saw a vote of no confidence against Chair Gale that failed on a vote of 1 to 4 to 5. Please take a look at this past week's minutes to not ask repeated questions for today's confirmations. Thank you.
Any questions for Vice Chair Almanar? Seeing none. Thank you, JC. GAP committee report, Chair Hall.
Alrighty, there's a lot there, so apologize for that. But hello, everybody. Happy Thursday. GAP had a very clearly productive meeting yesterday. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is that we did finalize the Students Priority Survey 2022-2023, and we'll soon be working to disperse it out. There's a link to the survey. Issues regarding the Google form in terms of settings and whatnot will be evaluated before it's dispersed. I hope in the near future to meet with Director Turner for communications to figure out cool ways to do the dispersal of this. Next one is, as President Lopez said, it appears that we do finally have tables at UCF orientation. I want to shout out Deeser Foster for badgering his boss until we got those tables. We will be setting up some form of sign-up form to assist with tabling when we get final confirmation, just so that anybody, particularly in Senate, that wants to help with that, we have kind of a centralized place for you to apply or volunteer versus sending 50 emails to Vice President Martinez. Next thing is that we are going to begin the process of kicking off Ignite Your Vote 2022. We've kind of gotten the green light to get this thing going due to the lack of a GAC. This is the student government-wide campaign that will be open to all student government agents dedicated to our 2022 midterm initiatives. GAP will be finalizing the structure of the task force / committee, whatever we end up kind of calling it, at our upcoming meeting next week. There will also be a separate sign-up form for all interested to get involved next week. To clarify for everyone, both UCF orientation and the Ignite Your Vote 2022 is open to all SG agents. That includes obviously the Senate, it includes exec, it includes the election commission, and it includes judicial. Anyone interested in helping can help and can get involved. It is not like within Senate just a GAP thing, and anybody else that has any interest is not allowed to. It is going to be open to everybody, and if you want to have an even more direct role in the Senate stuff, GAP has open seats, so apply if interested, and we have fun. I think I quoted Beyonce at our last meeting. So with that, my last announcement before I pass it over to Vice Chair Temple is that we are going to be attending the Summer Bee Block Party, which is this Saturday, June 25th, from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. The event starts at 8, but they want us setting up at 7. Basically, Start of Summer Bee is when a lot of incoming freshmen are moving into campus and taking classes. So it's an event being put on by OSI. We currently have 2 tables, one of which will be doing voter registration through People Power for Florida. Chair Saucedo, I did email you back so you can see that. And while we do already have 7 volunteers, mostly from exec, if you are interested specifically in helping this event on Saturday, just email SGA_VP@ucf.edu. That is Vice President Martinez. Just because of the short notice nature of it, that's the best way to reach them. So I will now pass it to Vice Chair Temple to talk about his legislative report.
All right, thank you, Chair Hall. So we did approve our very first GAP committee legislative report, and the topic was on gun control. This is actually a new idea that was developed within GAP in order to flesh out our role as a policy research committee. And we will be utilizing this going forward on various different issues such as affordable housing on campus, food insecurity, affordable healthcare for students, and a bunch of other issues that the GAP committee sees fit would be a very important topic to research. Our intention for these reports, just to tamper out any questions beforehand, it's meant to essentially help us in advocating through legislation as well as through any initiatives regarding lobbying, for example, Day at the Capitol or Day at City Hall. You guys can look in at the link attached within the announcements, and with that, I yield back.
That is all.
All right, Senator Simcoe.
Present and voting.
So noted at 6:36 p.m. Any questions for the GAP committee? Chair Borges?
Sorry, less of a question about GAP. Is my phone in front of you by chance?
Is it that yellow one next to Urea? Okay.
Yes. Go ahead and get your phone. Any questions for GAP? Seeing none, thank you to GAP leadership. LGR committee report, Chair Urea.
Hey guys, so this week in committee, we had 5 absence requests. We PPI'd 1, postponed 1, approved 1, and denied 2. Though the ones that were denied were overturned by exec, I would refer to our minutes this week if you're interested as to what happened there. And I do want to say that I am going to be listening and taking in everyone's opinions on our absence policy, and I will bring this up in committee next week. But if you wish to voice your concerns to me or to the committee, feel free to message me or come to LJR. I would love to hear from you. Lastly, we went over, well, we had 4 different bills on the agenda, but we postponed 2 due to the writer's request, and we passed 2, 5410 and 5411 favorably in committee. That's it.
Any questions for Chair Urea? Seeing none, thank you, Chair Urea. SBA committee report, Chair Salerno.
I'll yield to my vice chair.
Hello, everyone. So I just wanted to go ahead and quickly go over this. We did have our first working meeting, so I just wanted to provide the information that we started on projects, and committee members are starting to get that. We've made a list of tabling and volunteering just because that's very consistent with our goals for this year, as we want to make sure that everybody is getting the fullest extent of SBA and the fullest extent of UCF student government. So we'll be coming out with more information and just want to provide that process. So that way we're hoping that we allow for a more blossoming relationship with UCF students, faculty, and et cetera. So any more opportunities will be in the following week's reports, but I will be reaching out to a few people every now and then just to make sure that people are interested, especially our committee members as well.
Any questions for SBA leadership? Seeing none, thank you both. Confirmations. Everyone take a look at the minutes so that we're not asking repeat questions. Is there a motion for 5-minute speeches, 15-minute questioning, 15-minute debate? All right, any objections? Seeing none, I'll take that as general consent. Vice Chair Almenar.
When I'll be seeing Reynaldo Morales Cruz.
Reynaldo, you'll have 5 minutes when you're ready.
Hello all, I'm Ronaldo Morales Cruz. It's nice to see all your lovely faces here. I look forward to meeting you. I am a senior here at the University of Central Florida. I study philosophy, and I was intrigued by this position just because I've kind of had my fair share of involvement with the school, but I've never gotten involved with student government. I thought this would be a great opportunity to connect with students in a different way. As a justice, I am excited for specifically 2 committees in the judicial branch, one being the outreach committee and the other one being the president committee. The outreach kind of speaks for itself, you know, outreaching with students, and the president committee, I'm actually very excited for the advisory roles on the opinions in those different kinds of laws. And so I look forward to working with everybody. Just wanted to tell you a little bit about myself and who I was and my goals. Yeah.
Great. We're now in line for questioning. Does anyone have a question for the candidate? Foster?
What led you to apply for this position?
Your social media, actually. Besides the drive to want to connect with students on a different level or way. Yeah, your social media kind of summed up the position very well. And then I went on to dig a little bit deeper and look at your titles for the digital branch, and then the actual responsibilities listed in the articles in your constitution at UCF.
Sarah?
If you are hit with pressure in this position, how will you be able to manage it?
Could you repeat that question? I couldn't hear you well.
If you are hit with pressure in this position, how will you be able to manage it? Since I know that this position can require a lot of work.
Calmly, I hope. I don't plan to blow up under pressure. I think it's definitely a step-by-step procedure for any sort of interaction that you're doing, or any sort of role where you have a responsibility that do affect people's lives and rights, and things like that. So definitely slowly and procedurally.
Chair Temple?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Good evening, Mr. Cruz. So you said that you wanted to be a part of the outreach committee under judicial. My question for you is, do you intend to work with any of Senate caucuses in order to facilitate your outreach initiatives?
Truthfully, I am more interested in the President Committee. The outreach was an interest of mine, but I am a little bit more preoccupied with the advisory role. If I should be a part of the outreach committee, I would look into your caucuses, and I would look into all those different roles. So I'm willing and I'm open to learn about them, but I am kind of leaning a little bit towards the President Committee.
Any other questions for the candidate? Foster?
Move to debate.
There's been a motion to go to debate. Are there any objections? Seeing none, we're now in debate. All right, Costas, then Foster. I'm sorry, Tache, then Foster.
I'm very honored to be confused with Michael. Just wanted to say, this is the first exposure I've had to this candidate, but I really like him. I think he's really good for the position. I think you have a great energy, give off great vibes. I really like bringing a philosophy major into the mix. I think that's very helpful in these types of decision-making processes. So yeah, you definitely have my vote. Hope everyone else votes for you.
Foster?
Yeah, same as Tache. It's my first exposure to him. I wasn't in E&A when he was seen. So I read through the minutes. He seems really well read, intelligent. And I actually enjoy the fact that you found this position off social media, because that means someone's actually watching the social media. So you're really diligent. I'm definitely going to be voting for him in favor, and I encourage everybody else to as well.
Sabila?
Senator Foster kind of stole what I was going to say about social media, but I think he seems like a really cool candidate, and we need more diversity of majors. I don't know if there's really many other philosophy majors in student government, so I will be voting in favor, and I hope you all do the same.
Are there any dissenting opinions? Seeing none, Vice Chair Almanar?
Move to vote.
There's been a motion to vote. Are there any objections? Seeing none, we're now in voting procedures. Give me 1 second, because Brody stepped out and I gotta launch the polls. With a vote count of 30-0, congratulations, Justice Morales Cruz.
Thank you.
Vice Chair Almanar.
We will now be seeing Carly Berthemu. I'm sorry.
Carly, if you want to go ahead and say your last name so we make sure we say it correctly.
Yeah, it's Berthium.
Okay. Carly, you'll have 5 minutes when you're ready.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. First of all, I want to say my name is Carly Berthium, and I want to say thank you to you all for taking the kind of time to be out here tonight. I am really excited about this opportunity to be potentially confirmed before you all, and I cannot wait to kind of share my goals and intentions and plans with you all tonight. But first, as my kind of like first time appearing for you all, I would like to kind of take a moment to introduce myself as both an individual and as a candidate. So hello again. I'm Carly Berthium, and I'm entering my second year here at UCF. I'm Puerto Rican, and I'm originally from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where I'm a middle child of 3 daughters. I'm a psychology major on the clinical track with a minor in criminal justice, and I plan on hopefully pursuing a career in the legal field to provide a voice for those who feel as though they may not have one. Personally, I love playing volleyball, creating Spotify playlists, going to the gym, and listening to podcasts. But professionally, I believe that I'm a hard worker, a creative individual, a passionate person. And like once I get my mindset on something, I'm like totally invested and dedicated. Although I've kind of become involved in like my fair share of clubs and organizations in the past, such as National Honor Society, the Kiwanis Organization, International Thespian Society, and Blood Draft Committee, I found that the work that I kind of find the most gratifying is the work that's done to help others. So kind of when I was trying to find the best way to pursue this in college, I found that perhaps one of the most like devastating mistakes that people were making here was that they were unaware of certain like rights and responsibilities that they were offered. And I found a lot of people who sort of felt powerless and believed that they did not have the tools to defend themselves against an individual or an event that would end up largely impacting their experience. And I found that it's kind of hard to combat this when a large portion of the informational resources available can be extremely overwhelming and make the average individual anxious. So as an associate of justice, I would hope to alleviate this kind of anxiety surrounding being a college student by increasing awareness of the rights and responsibilities in a format that is more easily digestible. I would love to take this opportunity to inform college students of the ways that they can avoid getting into troubling situations. And when those situations inevitably come up, they do have options to ensure that they and their rights are fully protected. With the whole list of initiatives and ideas that I've created, I promise that if granted this opportunity, I would uphold the integrity of student government and use myself as sort of a tool to further the mission to represent, advocate for, and serve the student body of UCF. So again, thank you so much for taking the time to be here tonight and listening to me talk about how truly enamored I am with this opportunity and how I hopefully plan on being a successful associate of justice as best as I can. So with that, I further yield my time and I open myself up to whatever questions you may have.
Okay, we're now in line for questions. Do Salerno, then Salcedo, and Temple.
Hi, thank you for being here. My question specifically to one of the points that you made was lack of awareness about rights and responsibilities. In our campus, we are a Hispanic serving institution. So the majority of over 25% of our population is of Hispanic descent. And obviously language barrier could be a lack of accessibility for our students. How do you plan, if any, to tackle this issue?
Yeah, so something I think I'm like really like interested in is the Hispanic caucus, because I found that people who are often underrepresented feel safer in groups where they're of their own. And I'm personally, my mom calls me a no sabo kid because my mom speaks Spanish, but I do not. And it's definitely caused a lot of personal issues where I feel like there's members of my own family that I can't speak to because we kind of have that language barrier. So I think something that's super important is connecting with individuals that are of similar issues and problems, like through the, like, especially the Hispanic caucus. So that way they can kind of connect with other individuals to kind of resolve that disconnect that they may feel coming on campus.
Hi there, my name's Mel, and I'm also the chair of the Hispanic Latinx Caucus. So to meet you. However, my question is unrelated to that. My question is in the ENA minutes that you spoke a little bit about how the Honors College communicates to their students. I was hoping you could go more in depth about what they do and how you plan to get inspired by that.
Yeah, for sure. So one thing I particularly mentioned when I was in that meeting was how the Honors College on their Instagram, they have a segment that they call Important Things and Stuff, where they have two students, so it's more relatable. They kind of have them highlight one thing each week that they think are important for students to understand, and they kind of do it in a sort of like comedic format. And I think that's something that is super beneficial because like I said before, it's really important for people to connect to others who are like them. So I think that something like that segment, bring it over into student government to kind of release things in, like I said, an easily digestible format where people can kind of watch something without feeling as though they're kind of watching like a class. It's more of like a fun video to watch. So I think something like that would be super important in kind of informing people of their rights and responsibilities in a easier way.
Chair Temple?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Good evening, Ms. Berthium. So you did note that you wanted to work with the Hispanic Caucus in one of your initiatives, which I was actually going to ask about, but I guess to switch gears, do you intend to work with the other caucuses in the Student Body Senate? For example, the APIA Caucus, Women's Caucus, LGBTQ Caucus? And if so, how do you intend to collaborate with them in those particular minority groups?
Yeah, for sure. So in particular, I was really interested in like the Hispanic and the Women's Caucus because it's something I like personally relate to myself. So I think kind of allowing those caucuses to foster conversations that people may not feel comfortable to have, to kind of discuss, hey, this is something on campus that I'm not really comfortable with, or this is something on campus that's making me kind of feel like I don't belong. So I think working alongside those caucuses to kind of communicate with students on campus who may really like be struggling with something and not really sure of how to reach out, by kind of having like polls or open forums where people can kind of discuss methods or discuss ways that they're kind of feeling underrepresented or maybe uncomfortable on campus. I think that would be something that's super important that the caucuses could do further.
Any other questions for the candidate? If not, I'll take a motion.
Move to the debate.
There's been a motion to go to debate. Are there any objections? Seeing none, we're now in debate. All right, I'll go I'm just kidding. Taché, and then Temple, and then Costas.
Not to just keep being the one to speak first on all these judicial candidates, but y'all just keep impressing me. You had me from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and then continued to give answers that I liked. So that was all great, and I'm very impressed, and I'm sure you're going to be voted in unanimously, and I look forward to working with you.
Chair Temple?
Yeah, I would like to concur with Vice Chair Taché. The minute that you actually opened your mouth and like just showed how much passion you like showed, it just really, really impressed me. And reading through the minutes as well from ENA just made it all the clearer that I will be voting in favor for you. And I very much want the rest of Senate to vote in favor for you as well, because as student government would live like and thrive with people like you, with your energy and your spirit. So I cannot wait to see you in the Associate Justice's seat, and I cannot wait to work with you going forward.
Senator Costas?
This time it is me. I wanted to speak in favor of this candidate. They seem well prepared. They seem driven and aware of the ins and outs of student government, and I think they'd make a great addition to the judicial branch, and I encourage you all to vote in favor.
Are there any dissenting opinions? Seeing none, Vice Chair Almonar?
Move to vote.
There's been a motion to vote. Are there any objections? Seeing none, we're now in voting procedures. With a vote count of 29 to 0, congratulations, Justice Berthium.
Thank you.
Vice Chair Almonar.
We'll now see Yuka Kimura.
Yuka, you'll have 5 minutes when you're ready.
So hi, my name is Yuka Kimura, and I'm a rising sophomore majoring in health sciences. And I'm so excited to talk to you all today a bit about myself and my objectives as an associate justice. So a bit more about me. Outside of student government, I'm part of the Burnett Medical Scholars Program, Lead Scholars Academy, and Multicultural Association of Pre-Health Students. And I volunteer at the United Cerebral Palsy Association and the Orlando Regional Medical Center. And I had the pleasure of being part of SGLC and JLC these past 2 semesters, where I learned how student government worked and how the branches worked. And more importantly, met amazing friends and mentors who've inspired me to become a justice. So I'm really excited to be a part of the Student Conduct Board starting this summer and continue working with student government. So throughout my time in SGLC and JLC, I noticed that there were a few things that I wanted to do as an associate justice, and one of them was increasing transparency. And I know that transparency has been something that a lot of justices have mentioned, and it's been something that I wanted to focus on too. And more specifically, the UCF website for the judicial branch could be improved to include monthly updates and release our opinions. So basically, judicial reviews on a legislative act or impeachment. And I like to make our branch more transparent in this way. And another thing is, I'd also like to work with the Judicial Leadership Council Steering Committee to add more events and collaboration with other branches, such as through planning a mock outreach event together with the other branches. And JLC and SGLC have been wonderful experiences for me to get involved in student government, and I hope that I can be a positive contribution to the branch, and I'd like to yield my time.
All right, we're now online for questioning. Sarah?
Hello. What have you learned from JLC that will help you excel in this position?
So through JLC, I learned how.
I'm sorry that question was asked during E&A.
Yeah, not the exact wording, but it's very similar. So we'll go on to another question, if anyone else has one. If not, I'll take a motion. Paul?
Move to debate.
There's been a motion to go to debate. Are there any objections? Seeing none, we are now in debate. DeMarla.
Hello, I'll be voting in favor for this candidate. She's like continuously, even in the ENA meeting and today, shown her like how she understands her role, not even just as an SG individual, but also as a person on campus, and understanding her surroundings and the people that she'll be working for and with. And for those reasons, I will vote for her. Thank you.
All right, I'll take Yalamachili, then Harrell.
Yeah, so I too will be voting highly in favor of this candidate. She shows a lot of passion in what she wants to do as justice, and she has the experience being in JLC and is very involved and works very hard on campus. And I think she has the hard work, the work ethic, and the passion to be a very good justice. And I encourage my fellow senators to vote in favor.
Senator Harrell.
Hi, yeah, I just wanted to say that I will be voting in favor. You just seem very confident in reading the ENA minutes, and like it seems as though you knew most all of the questions that they asked, and I definitely believe that they questioned you thoroughly. So I definitely will be voting in favor, and I encourage all of you to do so as well.
Are there any dissenting opinions? Seeing none, Vice Chair Almoner.
Move to vote.
There's been a motion to vote. Are there any objections? Seeing none, we're now in voting procedures. With a vote count of 31 to 0, congratulations, Justice Kimura. Vice Chair Almoner.
We'll now see Ayaka Kimura.
Ayaka, you'll have 5 minutes when you're ready.
Thank you. So hello, my name is Ayaka Kimura. I'm a rising sophomore majoring in health sciences, and I am currently undergoing training to be a part of the Student Conduct Board this semester. And similar to Yuka, I was part of the Student Government Leadership Council and Judicial Leadership Council these past 2 semesters. And I was able to directly see the student government in action to help better the lives of the students here at UCF. And I learned about how the different branches work together, as well as more about the inner workings of the judicial branch. And as someone who has always valued the interpersonal relationship side of things, even in medicine, I found that I had been interested in how the judicial branch seems to work very closely with the students. And I saw this as a parallel to medicine, to what I had loved about medicine. And I am looking forward to be able to talk and create more personal relationships with the other students as I'm helping them as a justice. And as a justice, I would like to focus on outreach, which will eventually help with transparency, as more students will be more aware of the rights and resources available to them as UCF students. And being in SJLC and JLC this year has made me realize that people who are not in the student government are not aware of the many rights and resources that are available to them. And especially, they didn't know about the processes to receive fair decisions from parking appeals or grade appeals, for example. And I would like to ensure that more students know about what their rights are as students by having more events, collaborating with different RSOs and caucuses to directly reach out to these students. And another thing that I would like to focus on is accessibility for the judicial branch. So having volunteered for organizations such as the United Cerebral Palsy, the Special Olympics, and the ORMC, I realized that I would like to help push for more collaborations with student accessibility services, which I noticed had not been done before with judicial branch, as well as with the Disability Caucus to help strive towards a better experience for all students. I would also like to help ensure that the students are receiving the support that they need as an associate justice, and I'd like to know that they know that I will be here for them, especially when they need me the most. Finally, I have a lot of ideas for JLC, which I would like to fulfill as part of the JLC steering committee. And I thoroughly enjoyed being part of the JLC this past semester, and I would like to incorporate more critical thinking activities and also have more collaborations with the SCAI office and parking transportation services so that JLCers have a better understanding of what to expect as a justice. And thank you all for listening. It was a pleasure to be able to talk to you tonight, and I would like to yield the rest of my time.
Great. We're now in line for questioning. Chair Temple.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Good evening, Ms. Kimura. So you noted that you wanted to work with the caucuses for your outreach initiatives. So my now favorite question is, how do you intend to work with these caucuses in order to advance your initiatives should you become a justice?
Yes, I'm planning to attend and sit in on the caucus meetings, specifically the disability caucus meetings, because I'm focused more on increasing accessibility for different services for these students. I know, coming from a non-English speaking household, the importance of having these support systems in place so that these students have the support that they need. And I would love to collaborate with the caucuses and sit in on the meetings. Thank you.
Chair Salerno.
I saw in the meeting minutes for ENA that you described that one thing that you would change about those, not really change, but applied to the Constitution would be proper translations. Do you mean language translations, or do you mean for the Constitution to be more adequate or a little bit more?
Yes. Yes, so I was planning for there to be official translated copies of like the Constitution. I understand that there are so many, I love the fact that UCF is such a diverse institution. And I believe that for that, it would be important to also have these different official translated documents in place, just to increase accessibility, to make sure that there aren't any misunderstandings about anything, and just to make it more easier for all these students.
Any other questions? Sarah?
Maritine,
You may.
how is SGLC and JLC prepared you for this position?
Yes, for me personally, I love that I got to meet so many wonderful people in the judicial branch through through the Judicial Leadership Council, and also through SGLC work with people of the other branches too, and get to see what it's like in action. So I got to look to visit the Senate meetings, and also I got to shadow some people in their positions, and I got to learn more about how the three branches actually interacted together. But I feel like I enjoyed JLC the most in the sense that I got to see the specifically like the branches committees and stuff, and just like the inner workings with how it's supposed to look like.
Move to debate.
There's been a motion to go to debate. Are there any objections? Seeing none, we're now in debate. DeMarla?
I will also be voting in favor of this candidate. She really understands the purpose of SG and that it caters to everyone on campus. And I like a lot of her initiatives and her motivations for them. And I have no doubt that she'll carry them out effectively.
Harrell?
Hi, I will also be voting in favor of this candidate. I really like her initiatives for helping out like the Disability Caucus and making things more accessible. I think that's definitely something UCF should be looking into, and I'm glad that that is one of her initiatives.
Salerno?
I will be voting in favor of this candidate. They had me at Special Olympics. I think that the way that they think and the way that they process things will be very beneficial for the judicial branch. Obviously, they have more than enough experience in this, and I'm looking forward to seeing their ideas with accessibility.
Are there any dissenting opinions? Seeing none, Vice Chair Albanar?
Move to vote.
There's been a motion to vote. Are there any objections? Seeing none, we're now in voting procedures. With a vote count of 31 to 0, congratulations, Justice Kimura.
Thank you.
Vice Chair Albanar.
We'll now be seeing Sage Kerr for Chief Justice.
Sage, as you know, 5 minutes when you're ready.
All right, I'm gonna move this a little bit closer. Okay, hello everyone. My name is Sage Kerr. I am a rising junior studying political science. So I talked a little bit about myself and ENA, but I think for this confirmation, it's important that you guys all get to know me. So I'm gonna do it again. So as I said, I'm a rising junior. I've been involved in the judicial branch since the very beginning. I joined SGLC fall of my freshman year. I went through the program. I joined JLC as a sophomore, or that's false. Joined JLC the spring semester, and I had the opportunity to join as an associate justice on the judicial branch the spring of my freshman year as well. That kind of allowed me the opportunity to gain very valuable mentors that I still talk to today, that were able to give me some insight onto the processes of our branch and what exactly we do. I was able to apply this to becoming the external assistant last year in leading our outreach initiatives and leading SGLC. There I learned a lot about, being able to lead a team and be a successful mentor and mitigate conflict, all of the above. And it was just a great experience for me. Outside of student government, I guess, I'm the treasurer for the Korean Culture Club. I like to play volleyball and football and basketball and all of the above. I'm also very into music. I would describe myself as a very open-minded person, very open to try new things and open to new ideas. I'm from Omaha, Nebraska originally, which seems like it's in the middle of nowhere, but you'd be surprised. I've actually, had the privilege of getting to meet many different people from many different groups across a lot of different spectrums of everyone. And it's really given me an insight of, how many different perspectives on life that there are out there. And that's kind of been something that I've learned to embrace since coming to UCF, since it's such a large university. And it's definitely something that I've taken into the judicial branch. I think it's very helpful for, maintaining neutrality during hearings, being able to hear everyone's individual story. Something about my leadership style, I'm very open to, admitting when I'm wrong, and I'm very open to criticism and that kind of thing. I think judicial has done a very nice job in past years of maintaining a kind of personable and friendly atmosphere for not only its members, but students who are approaching us. And if I'm confirmed for this position, that is the kind of atmosphere that I plan to maintain in the future. So that's a little bit about myself. I'm gonna be quiet now, just because I want to give time for you guys to ask me about my initiatives and stuff. So I'll use the rest of my time.
Great. We're now in line for questioning. Salerno, then Richard.
Hello. So how are you looking to expand the readability of the Constitution as a way to increase accessibility?
Yeah. So I think, we've covered this a lot. One idea is to work with, people who can translate it into different languages. I've kind of thought about how this would work. Ideally, one of my big initiatives that I want to do this year after talking with a lot of people is getting more involvement with caucuses and such. I'm not sure, who the Latinx caucus or the Asian Pacific American caucus might have worked with in the past, if there's people we can utilize who have had experience in doing that kind of thing. Also just reaching out to student accessibility services or just anyone in that realm who might be able to help. I think it's important that we have someone who, I guess for lack of better phrasing, knows their stuff, just because sometimes, a lot of the stuff in our Constitution can be hard for some people to read. So they definitely need to be able to capture the idea that we want to put forth and translate it successfully. And then also, going off of that idea, I guess making it more accessible to students in the sense that it's easier to read, whether that be providing clarity to students at outreach events, or whether that me posting on social media and clarifying certain things or putting things in layman's terms, So there's definitely a lot of different avenues that can be done, I think, reaching out to different departments. And it's definitely something to think more about.
Senator Richard.
Which of your experiences, whether that be professional or just casual experience or encounter that you've had, has prepared you most for this role?
So I think, wow, over my tenure in the judicial branch, I've done a lot of stuff. I think everything has kind of contributed in its own right. So I'm going to kind of talk about them all, if that's okay. So coming in as a little judicial baby, not knowing anything, I really wanted to look up to those that I admired and that I saw as a mentor, to be able to meet with them and learn. And so I want to continue that mindset and continue to learn about things from my advisors, as well as to be able to be a mentor for new justices and teach them about the processes. I think that's extremely important. Leading SGLC has taught me a lot about being available to students and being able to lead a team. I think in terms of judicial itself, obviously just experience with doing hearings and stuff like that has kind of helped me realize, how to make the processes run more smoothly. But I also think advising is probably the thing that I've done that I've kind of valued the most. I guess it's why it's kind of what I see myself being here for. It's students coming to our branch and asking for help in their biggest struggles or biggest times of need, and being able to be there for them and guide them through that process. I've heard a lot of crazy stories, some that have taken a toll on me as well, and it's important to be able to be friendly and be personal with those people and become a person that they can talk to. And I think my experience doing that has only made me better at it. And being that advising seems to be kind of a thing that's continuing to expand within our branch, it's definitely something that I want to help, train the new justices in and get them involved with as well.
Any other questions? Wanjin?
So you have expanding fiscal administrative appeals as one of your goals as Chief Justice. What steps would you plan to take with the ORS committee in order to make people more aware of that option?
So one thing that could be super easy is I'm not, entirely familiar what happens like after ORS. But if, someone is sanctioned, just kind of giving them like the information that it's an option available to them, whether it be like that email or whatever, just working with the ORS chair to make that happen. Also, in my initiative sheet, I kind of talked about, one thing that I had as an initiative as external assistant that I've kept into becoming Chief Justice was outreach to RSOs. So just going out to RSOs and being able to present to them. And we were able to get a start on that last year, but I think I put in there too that I kind of missed the obvious and being able to get fiscal leadership within the Senate available or involved in those discussions. I think if I'm going to go to RSOs and present on fiscal appeals and all the processes that we can give them, I think having Senate involved in that is very important too, because frankly, you guys don't do more for them than judicial does. But I think it's just kind of an obvious thing that I missed, if that makes sense.
Any other questions? Domino.
Describe a time when you have been unbiased.
There's a lot. I guess I'll go recent. So one of my big jobs when being interim Chief Justice was to choose who would sit on the council this year. And it was hard, we had well over 20 applicants, several of which were in the JLC program that I led, and I got to make very personal relationships with a lot of these students. And unfortunately, we had a limited number of seats available. So it was up to me to choose the most qualified candidates, the people who I thought had the biggest grasp on students' rights and why we're actually here as a branch. That was kind of my main philosophy in choosing who I wanted to be a new justice. And, there may have been candidates who I thought, would have been a great fit for the job. But unfortunately, there's some people that I had to, kind of cut off at the bottom of the list. And, that was definitely hard, but it's also something where I've had to put my personal feelings aside and, do what's best for the branch.
Any other questions? If not, Almanar?
Move to debate.
There's been a motion to go to debate. Are there any objections? Seeing none, we're now in debate. Paul, Salerno, Becerra.
Yeah, so I actually met Sage. He did one of those RSO meetings at my RSO last year. Did a great job there. But I think throughout his time as interim Chief Justice, he's done a great job. I got to sit in on a couple of the interviews related to the judicial branch. And in those interviews, I could definitely see where his head was at when it came to prioritizing the needs of the branch over interpersonal relationships and whatnot. And that's always a good sign to see someone being impartial in a judicial thing in general. But I do think that he's done a great job. I've seen that every nominee that's come through looks up to Sage or has come to Sage for advice and to work with and to plan to come before us. That he takes this job seriously, not just being a branch head, but recognizing that the people that are going to be associate justices are the next generation of the judicial branch and cultivating that leadership. And I think that Sage is the person best equipped to cultivate that leadership so that when Sage's time comes to an end in student government, not in general, but when it comes to an end, that there's going to be a lot of different options for the top leadership roles in the branch. So I will be voting in favor, and I encourage others to do as well.
Salerno?
I will echo the sentiments of Chair Hall. I really enjoyed the way that Interim Chief Kerr, I was going to say Sage, Kerr has answered all of the questions. Obviously, it's a testament to all the appointments that we've done on how amazing of a job he's been doing, and he will continue to do so. We have not seen a amazing candidate, a non-amazing candidate be appointed as an associate justice. So obviously this speaks to his job, and I will be voting in favor and encourage you all to do so. Also, he loves Harry Styles, so that's a plus.
Becerra.
I'll echo similar sentiments of Chair Hall and Salerno. I've met Intern Chief Justice Kerr during SGLC, and I was actually part of his little group in the intramural sports, and he has taught us all how to be strong leaders in the organization and how to expand. So I highly encourage all of you guys to vote in him, as I believe that he will carry the next generation of the judicial branch forward a long way and bring forth positivity and justice.
Are there any dissenting opinions? Seeing none, Vice Chair Almanar.
Move to vote.
There's been a motion to vote. Are there any objections? Seeing none, we're now on voting procedures. With a vote count of 30 to 0, congratulations, Chief Justice Kerr, our newest branch head, and congratulations to all of the newly confirmed associate justices tonight.
Thank you.
All right, internal legislation, none. No, not none. Internal legislation, notice of legislation on first reading, none. Notice of legislation on third reading, none. Notice of legislation on second reading, constitutional amendments, none. Bills, internal bill 5409, updates to Title II, defining an opinion. Chair Cox was postponed in committee. Internal bill 5410, updates to Title III, Chair Urea. Is there a motion for 5-minute speeches, 15-minute questioning, 15-minute debate? Any objections to that? Seeing none. Chair Urea, 5 minutes when you're ready.
All right, so I know in Title II, there is definitions for abstaining, but I don't think those are super like user-friendly or clear. So what I'm trying to do with this bill is make it clear as to why you would abstain. I'm not taking away, you don't have to explain to anyone why you're abstaining from a vote. It kind of just provides context as to why you would, because I know that there has been some issues with abstaining when there's more abstaining than votes. And unfortunately, that's just not the best sometimes when we're put in this position to have an opinion and to vote. So I just kind of wanted to put this on paper so that it's there and it's just easy and user-friendly for anyone to understand. And I'll yield to questioning.
Great, we're now in line for questioning. Does anyone have a question? Saucedo, then McClellan.
So do you think the way it's worded, it might sound as though those are the only reasons someone could abstain?
Yeah, so I thought about that while doing it, and I'd be totally open to any amendments that anyone would like to add, but that's why I kind of added from being able to cast an ethical vote, and I put specific issues so that it kind of helps to not have that happen. But if anyone has any suggestions, like I'm totally open to it. Thank you.
McClellan?
Yeah, so going kind of directly on that same point, I was looking at it and I was thinking at it and it finally clicked. Maybe instead of saying meaning, would you be okay with an amendment that would be says abstain to be primarily used if you have a conflict of interest, specific issue, or anything else that would prevent you from casting an ethical vote?
Yeah, totally.
Any other questions? If not, take a motion. Urea?
Motion to move to debate.
There's been a motion to go to debate. Any objections? Seeing none. We're now in debate. Foster, then Yalamochili.
Personally, I like it. I've noticed a long streak of people abstaining in Senate, just in general, just for not any real reason, like a conflict of interest or something along the lines of that. I've noticed people just abstaining because maybe they don't want to hurt someone's feelings or they just don't want to cast a vote. I think, for the most part, we're just here to vote either yes or no on things. Like, I think abstention should only be used if you were in the room to hear something, or maybe a candidate, or you just have a direct conflict of interest on a subject. I think yes or no should be the way to vote. So I love the way that this outlines primary regions that people should be abstaining on votes.
Yalamanchili?
I too agree with this internal bill. I think that we are appointed or elected by the student body in order to have an opinion. So I do agree with Chair Urea, and abstentions should be limited. And I believe that if you don't have a conflict of interest, or if you have enough information to make a judgment, a senator should vote yes or no on a particular issue if there are not the issues that are mentioned in the internal bill. And Senate is a professional environment. I don't see why any senator should take Senate business personally. And I do think that less abstentions would be a good thing and would vote in favor.
Chair Gell?
I was going to make a motion to see Vice Chair McClellan's amendments.
There's been a motion to see as a block.
Yes, as a block.
There's been a motion to see Vice Chair McClellan's amendments as a block. Are there any objections? Seeing none, they'll be seen as a block. We're in debate on the block of amendments. McClellan.
So I have done a little bit more than just exactly what I said. I changed it to saying, instead of meaning all around, to be casted for yes, to be casted for no, but to be primarily used if you have, and then I added or any other circumstance. Or for, okay, hold on. So yes, that is the changes. If there are any other issues to change them, I'd like to know, because I kind of just made them kind of on the fly.
Is there a motion for a non-committee member to speak? That person being Brody. Any objections? Brody.
I just want to, just grammatically, I believe it should be to be cast, not casted.
Great. Any other debate on the amendments? And also, as a reminder, we're voting on McClellan's block of amendments. Patel.
Move to vote.
There's been a motion to vote on the block of amendments. Are there any objections? Do you withdraw?
Yes.
McClellan.
I wish to amend my amendments to add whatever the other amendment to my amendment was. I would like to amend my amendment.
Motion for a non-committee member to speak, that person being Brody. Any objections? Brody.
Okay, so this is a great opportunity for me to explain something that I think was a misconception a couple weeks back, but I wasn't here, so I couldn't talk about it. This is the time for a friendly amendment. So you can't have a friendly amendment on a document because that document is then owned by the Senate, even if you were the author. But because you were looking at Ryan's amendment, if somebody wants to make an amendment to that amendment, this would be the moment that he could say, I'm going to take Chair Gell's amendment as a friendly amendment onto mine and just accept it as part of my amendment. So if you all want to operate using the idea of friendly amendments, which you don't have to do because they're not real, this would be the time to do that. This would be the moment where it makes sense. So, yeah.
Thanks, Brody. Chair Gell.
Oh, I would like Vice Chair McClellan to friendly amendment my amendment.
McClellan.
I see it as a friendly amendment.
All right. Any other debate on the block of amendments? McClellan.
Move to vote on the block of amendments.
There's been a motion to vote on the block of amendments. Are there any objections to that? Seeing none, we are now in voting procedures on the block of amendments. With a vote count of 27-0 the block of amendments passes. Are there any dissenting opinions on the legislation? Seeing none, I'll take a motion. Temple.
Move to vote on Internal Bill 5410.
There's been a motion to vote on internal bill 5410. Are there any objections? None, we're now on voting procedures. With a vote count of 27-0 Internal Bill 5410 passes favorably on second reading. Internal Bill 5411 updates to Title 11, mandate of workplace harassment training for student government agents. Chair Hall, 5 minutes when you're ready.
Alrighty, so I've put forward this internal bill that would mandate workplace harassment training for student government agents. Currently within Title 11, the only training requirement that's mandated is ethics training. I think that the best way to phrase this is that, yes, we are at a school and we are here. It's awesome, but we are also in a workplace being within student government. And workplace harassment is an unfortunate reality that we deal with in the world, particularly both general harassment and harassment that is sexual in nature. So what I did want to kind of take the time to just briefly talk about is just some statistics that come on both, particularly one that comes from All Voices, which is a company that does workplace harassment trainings for other companies. In their findings, they found that 44% of people have experienced harassment at work, and that only 53% of them say that the workplace immediately addressed harassment. Only 50% of the individuals even reported harassment when they received harassment, and 18% of people said they saw other people being harassed but did not report it. The most concerning statistic in my mind was that only 72% believe that their workplace actually wants harassment reported. That should be 100%, but unfortunately it does not, with 28% saying that workplace does not encourage employees to raise issues of harassment. The other side of this is sexual in nature. That a study in 2019 said that 38% of all women and 14% of men have experienced sexual harassment at work. And in a separate study in 2016, over 85% of the people who experience sexual harassment have never filed a formal legal charge, and approximately 70% of employees have never even complained internally. The problem is real. We all know it. I didn't need to read those statistics for you all to understand the gravity of it. I think that as student government agents, we should be expected to hold ourselves to the highest standard possible, not just in the workplace, but broadly across the board. This to me is just a proactive way for us and for incoming student government agents across all the branches to understand and to really solidify into people's mind that this is a workplace and that we can have fun. It's great, but when it borders on harassment of any kind, it needs to be dealt with, and it needs to be dealt with swiftly. In most cases, we already do that. That's awesome. But an additional training that is mandated for all agents, in my mind, is an appropriate use of our time. And you'll kind of see if you look at the LGR minutes that there were some questions about how this would look and whatnot. At the end of the day, that's the discretion of the leaderships of the different branches to identify how specifically this will look. Is it a web course? Is it a speaker coming in, etc.? But what this bill does is mandate that that does have to happen at one point or another within those first 4 weeks that they have achieved whatever role that they have been put to. I think it's worth it. I think that if there are questions about the timing, is how feasible it is, to be frank, let's get it done. I think that this is a cause that's worth getting done. And I think that it sends a message to the student body as a whole that we recognize this issue and we understand this issue, and God forbid this issue ever happens within the office, we know how to deal with it, and that we can conduct ourselves as appropriately as possible. So I'll yield for any questions.
All right, we're now in line for questioning. Chair Temple, then McClellan, then Richard, then Salerno.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So Chair Hall, I frankly want to say that this bill is actually very well written, and I appreciate what you intend on doing with this. My question, though, is have you approached the Office of Inclusion, OIE, or the Title IX Advisory Council on how you would be able to structure this or have you received any, like, what's the term? Any advisement from those entities on this piece of legislation?
So I have not received any advisement specifically on this piece of legislation. I have done 3/4 of the victim services certificate that's going around, that's open to all students. That includes things like Green Dot training, et cetera. So having engaged with some of the entities that do exist on campus, like UCF Cares. But more broadly, I will say again that the purpose of this is to mandate it for all students within student government, not to actually necessarily flesh out how this will look. That's at the discretion of the leadership, as well as what I would also say specifically with that is realistically the only student government agents that have any form of actual training on this are students that are on the payroll, as it is kind of whether it's web course, et cetera. There is requirements for some form of training like this. It's usually web course based. This would just expand that to all students. And again, at the discretion of how best to implement this, depending by branch, is up to the leadership of each branch.
McClellan?
So this bill changes the entire chapter 1103 to now be titled Student Government Agent Training Requirements. There are other trainings besides ethics and the proposed workplace harassment training. Would you be interested in either between now and it being seen on third reading, looking in and trying to consolidate all the other trainings into this bill, or would that be a separate legislation, or what would you?
I mean, I can see either scenario. I think something to keep in mind, at least with the specific Title 11, is, for instance, like putting the fiscal training wouldn't make that much sense in this section, but putting the diversity training that we did all have through Senate orientation is a possible thing, and that's an amendment I'm more than open to. One thing I do kind of want to use this question to clarify as well is that this bill would mandate that the training be separate between workplace harassment and the existing ethics training. That was mostly because I felt consolidating them into one big training dilutes both of them, and it's better to have two separate trainings where there's maximum effectiveness. But to that point, if someone does want to make an amendment to include that, as I believe that's kind of the only other main training that's mandated, that we definitely could put in there, or just an additional bill later on.
Richard? All right. Salerno, Yalmanchili, and then I saw another hand that no, it was Yalmanchili. Okay, so Salerno, then Yalmanchili.
2 questions, if I may.
You may.
How would SG agents be held accountable for this training?
So specifically, they're held accountable the same way they currently are with the ethics training, that within the first 4 weeks of taking office, they are required to fulfill that requirement. I guess that sounds weird. And then kind of similar to the ethics training, if that's not completed, then the penalties will come just as they would with the ethics training.
Second question.
My second question is if you are aware of what the current reporting process is for any kind of harassment in our office.
I mean, generally, there's both like the actual legal reporting that you can do through UCFPD or through those kinds of services, as well as existing services that exist like UCF Cares, victim services, things like that, of that nature. Students, you know, if they feel in good confidence, they can talk to our advisor or speak to Senate leadership or other leadership can. Generally, then they're obligated to report those things to the appropriate services. But this training makes everyone aware very clearly of the different processes and how to go about reporting that, whether you are the victim or you are observing potential harassment in the office.
Chair Yalmanchili?
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to lower my hand. Chair Salerno already asked the question I was planning to ask.
All right. Any other questions? Borges?
May I ask 2?
You may.
Okay, so the first one is, have you spoken to any of the branch heads about making sure these trainings are possible?
No, but I have mentioned it in passing, both to Vice President Martinez and President Lopez. They have expressed openness to the idea in the past. I did speak at one point. I remember I was with Senator McClellan, and we spoke to we did speak to Brody about the idea a little bit in passing in his office, but generally have not seen any opposition, as well as not really an expectation of opposition for something like this existing.
Second question.
Yeah, and the next one would be, have you taken into account any possible monetary issues with adding this training?
No, mostly because, again, at the end of the day, I think it's a worthwhile thing to do. So even if there is anything monetary, which in some cases there may not be, depending on if we reach out to a potential service on campus or an existing web course that exists for people on payroll to begin with as the means to do this, there wouldn't necessarily be a monetary cost.
Salerno, third and final question.
It's a point of information, if I may.
You may.
So UCF already has in place a workplace harassment and a harassment web course. When you are a paid employee of the university, you have to take this course. I've taken this course multiple times because of my two jobs here at the university. It's also very much outlined in the Let's Be Clear.ucf website and under UCF policy 2-004.2.
Any other questions? If not, y'all know what to do. Anderson.
Very quickly, based off of the point of information, will you be mirroring relatively the same of what UCF has previously done, or will you be looking to work with these agencies and whatnot to provide something that's a little bit more clear, a little bit more concise?
So again, just to kind of clear the misconception, because it came up in LJR multiple times, this bill does not mandate what this training will look like. What this bill does is mandate that the training must happen. It's up to the branch heads to determine the best way to talk about it and to go about it. In LJR, things were floated like potentially bringing these web courses. This was an idea that I also talked about of just requiring it for all SG agents versus just people that are on payroll, broadly speaking, within the UCF, campus. But other things can be bringing in potential services, kind of like, we all went to the student government training or orientation. They brought in for the diversity training, specifically a person to speak about it from one of the services. That's also an option that's available. At the end of the day, that is at the discretion of Senate leadership of which way they want to handle it. And I will also add something that I would like to do with the assumption that this bill passes is kind of, because we can't be retroactive about this, work specifically with Speaker Custis to create something for all of us existing here right now, because this is almost more like setting in place for the future and for future agents as they get appointed or elected, etc.
Any other questions? No, those are my follow-up questions. All right. Any other questions? If not, I'll take a motion. Richard?
Move to see my suggestions as an amendment.
We'll not see that now. I'll see it in debate though.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we were. Move to debate.
There's an motion to go to debate. Are there any objections? Seeing none, we're there. Richard.
Move to see my suggestions as a block, as an amendment.
There's been a motion to see Senator Richards' amendments as a block. Are there any objections? Yalamanchili, is that an objection?
No.
Okay. Seeing none, I'll take that as general consent. They'll be seen as a block. Yalamanchili?
I raised my hand in order to debate.
You can go ahead and debate.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So I do support this bill. I think it's a good idea that every student government agent should have to take a workplace harassment training, because student government is not just an activity that us senators do. It is a workplace. We work for the students of this university, whether we are paid or not. And so it really shouldn't be a thing that only the paid employees of the university have to take a workplace harassment training. I'm sorry this bill places additional responsibilities upon the speaker, but I do think that the speaker is able to fulfill the task with very good results, because I do think that it is good for the entire Senate to have to take this training, because we don't want an atmosphere of toxicity in the Senate, and we want everybody to be able to respect other people's boundaries. And I do think that it would improve the state of affairs when it comes to senatorial behavior and conduct. And I would vote in favor, and I would encourage my fellow senators to also highly vote in favor.
Sabila?
I would like to echo the sentiments of Chair Yalamanchili. I also agree that this is pretty necessary. Harassment can happen anywhere. You never know when it's going to happen or who's going to say it, because you can't automatically just, think, oh, this person is going to say this or this is going to happen here. And obviously we don't want those things to happen in student government, and they shouldn't happen. And I'm glad that this is more of a proactive than a reactive thing. If I'm correct, I hope it's a reactive thing if I'm not aware of anything else happening. Sorry, just going off on a tangent, but I think this is really necessary and really good. So I will be highly voting in favor. And I think you should all do the same.
Anderson? Point of information, Chair Hall. We can, but we're also in the period of debate. So, Anderson?
So I think this is something that is extremely mandatory, seeing as UCF is against a lot of forms of harassment, a lot of forms of swaying and assault and whatnot. I think this just clarifies once again that we really do care for our community, and our community does in fact come first. So no matter the workload, I think this is incredibly important to in place, and it should have been previously in place. So I will be voting in favor.
Are there any dissenting opinions on the legislation? Are these hands dissenting opinions? Anderson?
Motion to see Richard's amendments as a block.
We've already done that. So, Richard.
Can I?
I just wanted to explain. I changed it back to ethics training requirements, plural. Ethics is just conduct, so I think that encapsulates both of the trainings. If you want to be more specific, we can add the workplace harassment from Borges. Either way works.
All right, I'll do Harrell, then McClellan.
Sorry, I just had a I just had a question about what amendments we're seeing. We're just seeing like the taking out the student government agent training requirements and putting ethics back in. Sorry, I'm just a little confused.
Yeah, so anything that Senator Richard has on there would be seen, and then he mentioned a friendly amendment by Chair Borges, which was removed. So right now we're seeing the amendments that are currently on the document. McClellan.
I actually do not think we should make this change. I think we should leave it as it was in the beginning as student government agent training requirements, especially since there is more than just these two. And I do plan on consolidating in the future. So there will be more than just ethics in here.
All right, Harrell, do you have debate? All right, I'll go Wanjin, Borges, Salerno to start.
Yeah, so I don't think we should have it be student government agent training requirements just broadly, because that implies that this covers everything. And I don't think we should be moving the financial training requirement out of Title VIII. So I don't know what the wording should be, but I would rather not imply that this is going to have everything when Title VIII should keep the financial training.
Borges?
Yes, I'm also against adding financial training to this title. It should stay where it is. If you want to have diversity training in here, I'd be fine with that, but I'm not willing to move financial training.
Salerno? All right, I'll do Anderson, then Hall. Anderson, you have 4 minutes and 34 seconds left of debating time.
I in fact agree that it is not clarifying what we're looking at. I think this is an incredibly important and concise internal bill that should be paid attention to, and I would not feel comfortable with fiscal or financial of any sort or student government training completely consolidating it.
Hall?
Yeah, just the first thing I want to say is I don't know if anyone was advocating for physical training to be put into this. But all I will say is I was kind of in favor of the ethics training and workplace harassment that Chair Borges had added, mostly because the only reason why ethics training requirements to me doesn't work is because one of the trainings is ethics training. So to me, I think just at that point, you might as well just do both. And then I think if we have a future bill that includes diversity, then we can probably work with Vice Chair McClellan on figuring out a name for that. But in the meantime, I kind of felt like that was a good compromise, just do ethics training and workplace harassment requirements, but that's just my thoughts.
Is there a motion for a non-committee member to speak? That non-committee member being Brody? Any objections to that? Seeing none. Brody?
I'm sorry, y'all. I don't want to throw a wrench in this, but because you're debating the title, I feel like it's relevant. Due to the recent Florida legislation, there's a good chance that we won't be able to mandate diversity trainings anymore. That's not official. There's a working group for the university working on how exactly we will implement the changes needed from that legislation. But I think there's a decent chance that we're going to have to write some legislation that removes the diversity training from our statutes altogether. So if that impacts your decision-making on the title of this section, so be it.
Chair Borges?
Because Richard and Hall both said they were okay with it, I added it back. So if you want to take it as a friendly, I'm fine with that.
Senator Richard, do you want to take it as a friendly amendment?
Yes, that works.
All right, so we'll see that in the block of amendments. Any other debate on the block of amendments? Richard?
Move to vote.
There's been a motion to vote on the block of amendments. Are there any objections? Seeing none, we're now in voting procedures on the block of amendments. With a vote count of 29 to 1 to 0, the block of amendments passes. Any other debate on the legislation? If not, a motion. Borges?
Yeah, so I just wanted to clarify that the training we do on web courses as employees is for general employees, and then it might be beneficial to have different workplace harassment training with more specific SG scenarios. I also know diversity training was not a web course. I just want to hear more about the intentions of how the training will be, as it could cost money, but I'm totally in favor of this training and this bill. So if Chair Hall can reach out to the branch head and get more precise information or something, I'd love to hear that on third reading.
Any other debate? If not, I'll take a motion. Wanjin?
Move to vote.
There's been a motion to vote. Are there any objections? Seeing none, we're now in voting procedures. With a vote count of 30 to 0 to 0, Internal Bill 5411 passes favorably on second reading. Resolutions, Resolution 5403 updates to Senate Rule 4, adding land acknowledgements by Chair Cox was postponed in committee. Proclamations none, special acts none. And at 7:53, we are in Senate forum. So, Senator Harrell, you have the floor.
Hi, I just wanted to say happy International Women in Engineering Day. Yeah, that's all.
Great. Vice Chair Tache?
I'm very impressed how quickly we got to Senate forum. This is great. For once, I've actually prepared something to say that I'm going to read because I had some thoughts on the way we've been writing legislation. So, hey y'all, I have concerns about the way we've been going about legislation recently. I have shared these concerns with others who have for the most part agreed. We are writing far too many proclamations and far too few resolutions. Last meeting alone, we heard more proclamations than we have heard resolutions all of Senate. Senate proclamations can be done well if they are actionable, if there's an actionable plan of what you would like to do with them, like what Senators Moll and Salerno had with their respective May Day and Dreamer proclamations. I've been torn because I support most of the causes that these proclamations are being written about, but I don't like the time that is being spent in the writing process in committee and in Senate on work that doesn't make a lot of or any impact. Going forward, I urge all of you to write more resolutions or at least more actionable proclamations. Additionally, in the future, whether or not I support the cause, I will be voting against any piece of legislation that I don't think will actually lead to any change. I do genuinely feel we have enough power in our small body to make some real changes at our university and in our community. I just worry we won't have the time to make that change if we don't start working smarter and getting our priorities straight. Thank you.
Almanar.
Good evening, Senate. I've worked with SBA Chair Salerno on creating a poll to survey the student body on the issue of gun reform. It should be published on our social medias at 8 p.m. tonight. Please share this poll. Please share the poll with all your RSOs and your fellow students, and take the poll yourselves if you want to. And yes, I worked with other people as well. Thank you, Chair Salerno. That's it for me.
Chair Salerno.
This event was mentioned a couple of weeks back, but Immigrant Appreciation Day is this Saturday. I'll be there. There'll be a lot of local members and businesses. I invite you all to attend. I hyperlinked all of the information. And then my second announcement is that OSI released their schedule for Pegasus Palooza. I personally believe that there should be a very strong student government presence during these events. This is a lot of events that are happening during Pegasus Palooza are going to be the first interaction that a lot of the first time in college students are going to have with UCF. We should be catering and going to these events so that we get to know students, so that we get to inform them of everything that we do in student government, not only in the legislative branch, but all other branches. And I think Chair Borges also has an announcement within my announcement, so I'll yield to him.
Sorry, I saw you've had it, so I had to add, please consider volunteering for the agencies involved in Pegasus Palooza. There are quite a few of them. They're always looking for volunteers, especially Campus Activities Board and Late Nights, who execute the events with the biggest expected turnout for that week. In addition to that, I talked to some of you about opening night. If you guys want, I will be out there with fiscal leadership, hopefully giving out flyers to RSO's tabling. It's a great place, like Chair Salerno said, to get us out there.
Great. Chair Gell.
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to make an announcement that July is Minority Mental Health Month. I reached out to some of the caucus chairs. I've heard back from the Hispanic caucus about creating that proclamation. I know Senator Tache just said something about proclamations, but my intention is to create an event in the end of July with this. So I agree with what Senator Tache was also saying, but yeah. So if anyone wants to help with that, please reach out to me. I'm more than happy to include you on any of the planning or, helping write the proclamation. I wanted it done this week, but unfortunately I had a lot going on this week. So it will be done next week. And I was going to say something else. Oh, and regarding Title VI, ENA will start going over Title VI as well, coming in the next couple of weeks. So if you are passionate about that or you want to be included in that, send me an email, send me a group me message, and I'd be more than happy to include you in any of the planning that goes on with the proclamation, the event, or Title VI. But yeah, thank you.
Chair Temple.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So this kind of just literally came to my attention 2 minutes ago, but happy UN Public Service Day. Like, I know we're not technically considered public servants, but we're doing what's best for the student body as a whole. And I just figured that we might want to have this something for us as a morale booster, because I know that we've all had a long week. And although we're students, we're also public servants serving on behalf of the student body. So just, yeah, happy Public Service Day for all of us.
Anyone else for Senate Forum? Seeing none, Senate deliberations. Anyone wishing to enter a period of deliberation? Seeing none, advisors report. Birdie.
All right. I don't have a lot for you other than just to remind you that if you're taking classes that have finals or have midterms and things coming up, please take the time needed to focus on those. I know it's summer, so it can feel a little different, but the finals are still finals. So take them seriously and do well on them, be successful. Yeah, other than that, as Emma mentioned earlier, you have 5 more Senate meetings for the summer. So
if there's things that you think need to happen before we leave for that break, that's going to be 3 weeks, you should probably be working on them now so that they actually have time to like go through that legislative process. Yeah. All right. So with that, we will do some senator shout outs. Juarez.
To former Senator Roll, I will miss her. I have nobody in the College of Hospitality and Management right now. So if you guys know anybody, please tell them to apply.
All right, Foster. I want to give a shout out to Vice Chair McKellen. I did not have a laptop or any type of tablet to take minutes on an ENA this week. He came through. All right, Uriah.
Also, shout out to Vice Chair McClellan. He is such a good vice chair. He slays the hardest. So shout out to him, period.
All right, Paul.
Yeah, I gotta shout out Deeser Foster. The amount of pain that I've gone through trying to get orientation to do voter registration has been extensive. But Deeser Foster did his due diligence and badgered them until we were able to break through. And because of that, we potentially be able to register a significant amount of incoming students, and that, putting aside all the student government stuff, like that's what this is all about. So I really do appreciate your efforts to get that off the ground.
All right, with some Zoom ones. So Temple.
Yeah, I've got a few, if I can remember all of them. First and foremost, Deanna Wanjan, I said that in my announcements, but I wanted to shout her out again because she really, really did such an amazing job chairing ORS after I was pulled away from it. I won't say why I was, but let's just say we got a new fridge out of the whole thing, but it was just chaos. But I'm really happy that Deanna Wanjan stepped up and took over for me. And I'm really glad I also somehow tapped a piece of nostalgia for her at the same time. I wanted to shout out Vice Chair Robbins as well, my vice chair, because she went out of her way to interview all of the committee members and try to get a lot of ideas for how ORS can proceed forward, especially in the fall. So really, that's amazing information from her, and I really cannot wait to put those into action. So thank you so much for that, Vice Chair Robbins. And then finally, I just wanted to shout out GAP for just an amazing meeting yesterday, for how productive we had been. Like, keep it up, guys. This is why I love that committee.
All right, go.
I also want to shout out Vice Chair McClellan and Senator DeMarla for coming into ENA. I really appreciated their presence a lot. And it was good seeing some new faces. Shout out to ENA as a whole. You guys are awesome and wonderful. Shout out to Vice Chair Robbins. That is one of my favorite people in Senate. She was my mentee and she gave me a great devotional. So shout out to her for that. And honestly, shout out to all of you guys. I know these meetings are long, but I'm glad you all are here. Oh, and lastly, shout out AG Moore as well for coming to ENA. She always comes to ENA whenever I ask her, and I really appreciate it.
All right, Costas.
Yeah, I wanted to shout out Senator Tache. I really enjoyed hearing what he said about proclamations. I think that was important. And also he has a sick mustache. I want to start calling him Senator Stache.
Man, I'm so mad I didn't think of that earlier this week. Yalam and Chili.
I would like to shout out Chair Uriah for her exceptional handling of the LJR committee meeting yesterday, and a lot of stuff was done, and she's an impeccable chair, and I'd just say, keep it up. You're doing great.
All right, Wanjan.
So first I wanted to shout out Harel. As she mentioned earlier, it's Women in Engineering Day, and we are the only 2 women in engineering in the Senate. So yeah. And then Tasha for saying what I've been trying to figure out how to say for like 2 months now. But I haven't been able to find the words. So thank you for finally doing it.
All right, Almanar.
A few shout outs. First, shout out to Chair Salerno for helping me get the poll ready. Thank you so much. Shout out to Vice Chair Temple for making an amazing report on gun violence. It's 13 pages long if anyone wants to have a light reading tonight. Also, shout out to Director of Communications Sierra Turner for working with me on getting that that said poll published. It should now be up if y'all want to take a look at it.
All right, Demarla.
I want to shout out Chair Hall for literally carrying GAC on his back. Haha, that rhymed. And also Chair Patel for just being a fun chair to work with.
All right, Selena.
I was getting offended. So I have a couple of shout outs. The first one being to my committee. We had our first working meeting, as Vice Chair Anderson mentioned in our announcements, and it was incredible. We got so much work done and so many ideas were flowing, and we had so much fun because it was very informal. So it was a nice way to kind of know how we are as leaders and ask a lot of questions, which I really appreciated. The second shout out is to Vice Chair Tashe, or Senator Stashe, apparently, or Stash. I don't know how to say that. I really love the way that you worded your statement. And again, from an advocacy perspective, I love that there hopefully will be a lot of thought put into the introduction of legislation. And then my last shout out is to Vice Chair McClellan for giving us all common people a chance to be in CASAS's chic by not wearing a suit today. So thank you.
All right, Becerra.
So shout out to Chair Borges for the snacks that he's always bringing in CRT. All y'all are missing out on that. Plus CRT is always entertaining to be in. And shout out to Chair Patel for breaking his spine, taking the minutes yesterday. The minute says it all. So.
All right, Harrell.
I just wanted to shout out Wanjin for us being the only two women in engineering in Senate. And then I also wanted to shout out ENA. I was very impressed that I watched the meeting this week just to see like how it was, and I was very surprised. I forgot about the the vote of no confidence thing, and I feel like you guys handled it very maturely, and I just wanted to shout you guys out because I thought that was very cool to watch.
All right, Salcedo.
I want to shout out Chair Millington and Vice Chair Anderson once again for helping me out with the FAO funding workshop, especially because I put it together so last minute. So thank you for that. And also to Chair Gell for bringing up Minority Mental Health Awareness Month, because if it wasn't for her, I would have had no idea. So I'm looking forward to what we can plan next month for our minority students.
Flores.
Yeah, Becerra kind of took mine, but I have more. So I want to shout out my vice chair, Chair Patel. In our agenda, he had to write so much. We had 53 lines of just debate for our fiscal quarters. And within one of those lines, we got the triple letters. We got to EEE. And if you don't know what that means, it's a lot. Our agenda ended up being 13 pages with just 2 things on our agenda. Also, I want to shout out Chair Millington for finally getting me the questions for Fiscal Jeopardy. It took a month, but we have them. And then I was going to say someone else. I don't remember. I'm sorry.
All right, Emma.
All right, I've got a few. I promise this won't take too long so we can get out of here by 8:30, maybe 8:15. First, my parents. So my boyfriend told my parents what I do on Thursday nights, and now they watch Senate from like start to end. So hi, Mom and Dad, wherever you're watching it from. That doesn't need to go in the minutes, so that's okay. Wanted to shout out Netta for sitting in the hot seat and helping me up here. Thank you, Netta. I wanted to shout out Senator Domino. Senator Domino is just so cool. If you all he's just so cool. So I'm shouting you out, Senator Domino. And then also anyone who's ever used the compliment form, people have used it and people are happy when they receive compliments. So keep continuing to use that. I need to link it in this meeting's minutes because I forgot to do that, but I will do that. And just go ahead and keep sending those out. That's it from me.
Wanjin.
Sorry, I forgot. I wanted to shout out RS for letting me chair and not like rioting for some reason, because I really missed it. And yeah, just thank you.
All right. Any other senator shout outs? All right.
Netta, any announcements?
No announcements.
No announcements from Netta. All right. Miscellaneous business, resignations. Chair Cox has resigned from ENA. Elections. Is there a motion to open up ENA elections? Any objections? Seeing none. Is there a motion to open up ENA nominations? Any objections? All right. Is there a motion to nominate Vice Chair DeMarla? Any objections to that? Great. Anyone else wishing to be put on to ENA? All right. Is there a motion to close nominations? All right. Is there a motion to open up elections voting procedures? All those in favor? All those against? All right. Congratulations, Vice Chair DeMarla. You're on ENA. Appointments none. Custis Chic Couture. I don't know who said that just because McClellan's not wearing a suit that he couldn't get Chic Couture. But he's not this week. Not to say that I don't appreciate the outfit. I love it. But first, an honorary mention from last week was Chair Borges because his outfit last week was great. But for this week, I haven't put much thought into this yet. Okay, I really like Dila Guanjin's outfit. I also really like Vice Chair Almenar's suit. And I also really like, don't hate me for this, Chair Temple's outfit. I think it's very posh and very chic. And I really appreciate, even though I can only see your shirt, I think it looks great. Also, for the record, if it wasn't Custis Chic Couture, I would give it to myself every week because my outfits are great. But those are the three for tonight. Cerisi's Collectibles, Pro Tem Cerisi put her collectible into the Senate-wide chat. So go ahead and take a look at that. Anything else for miscellaneous business? Seeing none, I'll take a motion. Foster.
Move to adjourn pending final roll call.
There's been a motion to adjourn pending final roll call. Any objections? Seeing none, Chair Urea.
Mole. Potier.
Here.
Kira.
Here.
Martinez. McClellan.
Present.
Millington.
Present.
Richard.
Present.
Temple.
Present.
Caldwell.
Present.
Robbins.
Present.
Spalding. Castillo. Wynn.
Here. Here.
Simcoe.
Present.
Wanjin.
Present.
Domino.
Present.
Foster.
Here.
Galloway. Custis.
Present.
Beaumont.
Here.
Becerra.
Present.
Gell.
Present.
DeMarla.
Here.
Patel.
Here.
Galamanchili.
Present.
Harrell.
Present.
Borges.
Here.
Almanar.
Present.
Anderson.
Present.
Castellan.
Present.
Eula. Hall.
Here.
Holmes. Huerta. Costas.
Here.
Martin.
Present.
Salerno.
Present.
Saucedo.
Present.
Tache.
Here.
Cerisi. Cox. All right. 33 out of 42. Quorum is verified.
All right. Wanjin.
I'm sorry. I saw Sabula on the screen when her name was called. So I'm not sure if she just didn't unmute.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah. All right. I told you all I was efficient. I hereby adjourn this meeting at 8:15 p.m.